Welcome to the Immigration Therapist Podcast, a podcast for immigration attorneys that want to learn more about the psychological aspects of these evaluations, and for therapists that want to learn more about immigration evaluations. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about becoming licensed in other states. So what does that mean? Obviously, as therapists, we are bound by our state licensing board. My board is the NSAW Florida chapter. Again, I'm located in Florida. And this is true for other therapists, whether you're a social worker, licensed mental health counselor, or all the other professions. We are bound by our state regulated chapters, which is different for attorneys. Yes, attorneys are bound by, there's certain things that they practice that are state bound, but when it comes to immigration, that is federal law. So that's why attorneys can do business, all throughout the United States because it's federal law. So they can have their office in Florida, for example, but see clients all over. So there's a difference. So you'll, as you start doing, and I'm speaking to therapists, as you start doing work, immigration evaluations, as you start getting very well networked and known around the community, you will start having clients from other states that will contact you, as well as immigration attorneys that will contact you for clients in other states. Ethically speaking, we're not allowed to see clients that reside in a different state that we are licensed in. So for example, as a Florida therapist, if I'm not licensed in, for example, Alaska, and a client from Alaska contacts me asking for an evaluation, technically I can't see them because I need to be licensed in the state where they reside. There are some loopholes. For example, as a social worker, last time I checked the law, it said that I have 3 months from the time that a client moves to a different state. So I have a couple months to see them until they find a new therapist locally. Last time I checked, again, maybe things, and I checked pretty recently actually. So, but again, as the time of this recording, maybe things will change in the future. As a Florida social worker, I have 3 months to see a client when they move to a different state, to give them ample time to find a local therapist. 3 months is plenty time. So anyway, so like I was saying, what if an attorney contacts you asking you to see a client in another state? Well, ideally, you should refer out. Absolutely. But, there's also an option of becoming licensed in another state. I've had clients that I've notified saying, look, I'm not licensed in the state where you are, but I can apply for licensure. And if it's something that you're willing to wait, if you're not in a rush, if you're willing to, to wait it out, then by all means, absolutely. And I've done that. It just so happened that the client wasn't so much in a rush. It was a case that the attorney recommended for them to start early on, and they were willing to wait anyways because of other reasons. So they waited, and I applied, and thankfully my license was approved in that state, and I ended up working with the client. But, the idea of becoming licensed in other states, well, there are a few objections. For example, it's expensive. It can get very expensive. As we know, a minimum for social workers, there are some states that the minimum amount that you'll have to spend is $250 to apply, plus mailing fees and things like that. Not to mention that some states require you to retest, to take a small version of the test. Last time I checked, California was one of those states. So it can be expensive and bureaucratic to try to get licensed in other states, not to mention that, there are a lot of states in the United States. So it can get very, very expensive. Not to mention the upkeep, the CEUs, the parameters involved in getting licensed in the other states. So it can be quite hectic to try to do that. But at the same time, there are a lot of benefits. Like, for example, you'll be able to start taking clients in that state comfortably, legally, ethically. So I think it's a personal choice, whether you should become licensed in other states. I've seen some people get licensed only in a few targeted states, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 more states, that's usually where they get a lot of their referrals from. Immigration referrals, and that's for them, that's plenty. That's as much work as they can possibly humanly take, because remember, the more states you get licensed, then the more work you'll be able to do. So you also have to take a look at your personal limit. What is your limit? That also goes with learning how to say no. When you'll get a lot of requests, you have to know what your personal limit is. For me, my personal limit is 1 evaluation a day, meaning meeting with a client. That's my limit, 1 evaluation a day, which is quite a lot, actually. But again, going back to becoming licensed in other states, I feel like it's a very personal decision. You have to see if it's something that fits within your business model. Do you plan on hiring people and train them? Are you planning on training people to do immigration evaluations? Are you planning on outsourcing, or are you planning on tweaking your process, maybe downgrading how many sessions you need? So it's all a matter of planning, and it's a personal choice, in my opinion. I think that the most important part is making sure that we do everything ethically, legally, properly. So as long as we stick to ethics and legalities, becoming licensed in other states is totally doable. It can get expensive depending on how many states you want to do. Also bureaucratic, so and time consuming. So expect to spend a couple of hours on each state when you apply. Some states you'll have to, again, also call them to see what the process is, just because it's so different. Like, for example, the process in South Carolina to get licensed there was a little complicated for me as a Florida licensed therapist. But calling them was super easy. Actually, they were very available and willing to help. So that was just an example. Maybe it was a personal experience, but that was my experience. So again, expect it to be time consuming, expensive depending on how many states you're willing to get licensed in, but also totally worth it, because again, you're doing things by the book, legally, and you are allowing yourself with more opportunities to help people, but also to profit as a business. So I hope this helps. And again, you can catch us on Instagram at immigration_evaluations_center. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.